Hello everyone. Today I am not actually live with you tonight because as most of you know who have read my bio or have read my book or just know me personally, I am a huge Chicago Cubs fan. I love baseball and the Cubs are my team, and they are here in Atlanta this week and we have tickets. We're going actually every night, so I'm really excited. So tonight, when this publishes, when this posts out there on social media, it will be that I am actually at the game, hopefully enjoying a Cubs winning victory celebration type situation. They have not won the last two games, but hopefully they'll be able to figure it out these next two games, or at least split the series. So I wanted to go ahead and do something for you though, because last week we didn't do anything. I personally have been struggling quite a bit with some depression and other things, just physically not feeling very good. And so I thought, well, I'll do this. And then that way y'all have something from me. You don't think that I've abandoned you, and you'll still have some new information and know that I will be back in live. We will be talking again. Maureen is on vacation this week too, so I just thought this might be the best of solution for everyone. So thank you so much, first of all, for always coming here and having the time, taking the time to spend with us and to have the conversations that we have here. I really do appreciate that. It means a lot to me because I started Growth Community just kind of as an idea, kind of a whim, if you will. And I think that many of you are finding some good value here. At least I hope you are. And from some of the feedback I get, that is the case. And I just hope that we can continue to do that for you. So definitely looking for any comments or feedback or information you want to share here in the comment section. If you want to react to it, if you want to share the video with others, you can also email me always at jen@jenniferandersonsmith.com or hit me here on Facebook or Instagram. So, and even though I won't be live with you tonight at 8 p.m., this will post at that time, and so I will keep an eye out for comments and reactions so that I can interact with you that way. So again, thank you so much for coming out. And next week will be May 5th. It'll be our first week of May, and we will definitely be here with you live, provided nothing else happens that is completely unexpected. So, I did want to talk to you a little bit about our blog post this week because it actually took me quite a while to write this blog post. It was one that I felt strongly about doing, but every time I kind of was ready to, I thought it was ready to go, then I kind of felt like, no, it's not quite ready to go. So it took quite a while to do this one because of my own personal concerns that I had. But it's all about trust. The name of the blog post is Fool Me Once, Shame on You. And it's all about trust. It's about what happens if you don't trust in yourself. What happens if you trusted in someone else and they broke that trust? And will you be able to reestablish that trust? And what happens if you can't? And how to move forward that way. So, a couple of the reasons why I hesitated submitting that one is because of the vulnerability aspect, which, you know, really what pushed me through that was that I call Growth Community, this space is a safe space for us to rediscover our purpose, to rediscover our passion. And so if I can't be open and vulnerable and lay my heart out there for you guys, certainly can't expect you to do the same for me. So I went ahead and published it for that. I really was concerned with how some people might react to it. Reading it, they might think it's about them, they might not. This was a little more close to home, I guess you could say. And so I didn't want the potential of confrontation that might come from that. I will tell you that nothing has happened, and that's normally the way it goes, right? We build these things up in our mind to be so big, and then they're not really anything at all. So good news is that I've had nothing but good reaction to the post, and hopefully you have found some value in it as well. The second reason that I took so long to get it done is because I have been fighting so hard against my anxiety and my depression. I actually, at one point, one day, this last 2 weeks of this crazy funk I've been in, I actually slept 16 hours in one day, in one 24-hour period. So when that happened, that kind of scared me. I've had depression for so long that I can understand through physical symptoms when it's getting worse. And I have learned how to pay attention to those things in order to try to stave off getting all the way to the bottom of that dark hole of depression. But I felt like after that occurrence of 16 hours of sleep in one day, that was, to me, for my depression and my situation, that was scary. I didn't like that at all. The first thing I started doing was looking at medical options in terms of changing my treatment. But then I realized, Jen, there's a lot of other things you can do first. Getting more exercise, doing more journaling, because as much as I know that's helpful, isn't that kind of the way we do things? We know things are good for us and then we just don't do them. I'm actually reading a book about that right now, and I will be sharing some of my insights from that in the future. But I also think that, one of the things we do is we give ourselves, we kind of put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get out of situations too. Like when I know I'm going into a depression and into a depression mode, I work really hard to get out of that. And sometimes you need to sink a little bit deeper into it before you can actually get out of it. You need to be careful with that. You need to make sure that you're using therapy. You need to make sure that you have accountability, people that are checking in on you to make sure where you're at. So please be careful with that. Guard your mental health very closely. But sometimes I found that, maybe that I just didn't quite get it all out, I guess, the first time, you could say. So that's kind of a little bit of what I have been struggling with. But then also my husband mentioned to me, maybe you're still dealing with the, what do you call it? I had my second vaccine, the second shot, a couple of weeks ago. And he said, maybe you're still dealing with the side effects of that. So if that's the case, awesome. But since I don't really know for sure, and I have felt heightened anxiety quite a bit, I'm treating it like it's depression, and pushing my way through it, doing all the things that I know to do, checking in with the people I know to check in with in order to make sure that I keep my mental health safe and guarded and in good shape. So things that you should do too. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight was really the questions that I ask in the middle of the blog about your own self-trust. Because quite honestly, you can't trust someone else fully and completely until you trust yourself. And so you have to look at that and say, do I really believe that I can do whatever it is I'm trying to do? Do I have faith that I'm going to make a good decision? Do I know that I am good with my money or with my time or whatever it is? Basically just making good decisions and feeling confident in those decisions and feeling confident in how you made those decisions. That's a lot of what self-trust is. So the questions that I ask you in the, oh my goodness, my printer's going off. Anybody who works with me knows this dumb thing goes off on occasion. So I apologize for the extra noise you're about to experience. I'll speak a little louder. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me. But the first question is, do you feel a need for control? And I do think that sometimes when we don't trust ourselves, that's when our need to control the situation completely is heightened. And I think that's because we don't, if we can control the situation, then nothing that we're unexpected is going to happen, which anybody who's lived life any period of time knows that's not necessarily the case. But I think that is what kind of leads us to this false sense of comfort, this false sense of control, yet you don't even believe in your own self to be able to get through that. So I don't know that, needing control is always an indicator of lack of self-trust. But I do think it can be an indicator. And especially when you add other things in, like, do you engage in negative or harmful self-talk? Are you always putting yourself down? And even if you're doing it in a joking way, like you're out with your friends or with your family and you're like, oh yeah, I'm so dumb, I did this, and I'm so stupid, I did that. And those kinds of things are negative and harmful, even when you do it in a joking way. And so I'd love to see you remove that kind of language from your talk always, whether it's what is going on only inside your head or what is actually coming out of your mouth, to remove that, or even writing it in journals or texting it to friends or whatever it is. Those words are strong and they will stick in your brain, and you need to then counteract it with many more times of proof that you are not dumb and that you are not stupid in order to get your brain to rethink that thought. So I would definitely encourage you to stop negative or harmful self-talk, even if you just do a little bit of it. Really try to focus on that and get rid of that in your life, because that's going to help you make better decisions. Speaking of decisions, that's another thing is, do you defer choices to others? I know for me personally, one thing that I don't trust myself on is picking restaurants. I've not had a good track record with picking restaurants. And so unless I know this restaurant and I've been there recently, I tend to defer restaurant choices to others. And I do that because I have had bad experiences when I have chosen certain restaurants and it's not gone over very well. And so I try to avoid that whenever possible. And by doing that, that is telling myself I know I don't trust myself for that. And for something like that, choosing restaurants, no big deal, right? But if you are deferring things like maybe you're going through a custody battle and you're deferring those options to someone else, or you're telling your lawyer, just do what you can do that's the best, or you're telling your current significant other, if you have one, while you're going through this, what do you think I should do? And then taking that advice and running with it and not thinking it through yourself as to where are your personal boundaries, where are your personal desires, and how can you make that work? So those are very important things you have to decide for yourself. Another thing would be jobs. In the past, I have made probably some questionable movements in my job history through the years. I'm over 10 years ago, I'm talking. And looking at it now, knowing what I know now, I would have done things differently. Granted, at the time, knowing what I knew and going on the information that I was given and doing the research I could do, I made the decision that I did. I learned from all of those experiences. So in the end, it's not so bad. But at the time, and the very immediate future to that time, it ended up not being such a good decision. And then I had my spouse at that time then also telling me that he thought it was my fault that some of the financial issues we had were based on the employment movements that I had made. And so for a long time, that kind of sat in the back of my head, even after the divorce and everything, when I was making different employment choices, it kind of sat there as, ooh, can I really make this choice? Am I making a good choice? Is this a smart choice? One thing it did for me is it made me slow down, because I get excited about stuff and I want to act on it right away. So it did make me kind of slow down and think things through a little bit better. But it also made me kind of question things more times than I should have. So I have worked through that. I'm confident in who I am in my job and how good I am at my job. So I'm good now, but I have struggled with that in the past, and that would be something that, you're the one who has to do the work all day, every day. So you definitely don't want to defer those choices to someone else. But if you find yourself doing that, that could be a sign that you are lacking in the self-trust department. That's something that you need to build up. So how do we fix that? Right? It's like, okay, Jen, I've already identified, I've read your blog because, I'm your faithful follower. So as soon as that email hits my inbox, I got it. But what do I do with that now? Now I've gone through these questions, and I think that I have an issue with my own self-trust. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to take action on that. And the very first thing I would do is say, grab a paper and pen. I know. It's what I say a lot of times to the very first action. But what we're going to do is make a list. Let's list out the times when you have made decisions, or you have made choices, or you have taken action that you feel good about. So when is the last time that you did something really good for yourself in terms of, that was the right hair color? I'm glad I had my hairstylist make that change. Or maybe buying a car. I mean, buying a car can be a really, I don't like that process at all. I think it's a racket, but that's me. Maybe that's your thing, maybe you just have no confidence when it comes to buying a car. And so you arm yourself and you go out, and I had to do this like within 3 months after my divorce. The car that I was driving that was perfectly fine completely went out on me. The transmission all but fell off the bottom of the car. And so I had to start over, figure out what to do with that car, and then figure out, do I fix it or do I replace it? And how much am I going to get for it? How much am I going to owe on it still? All of that stuff. I had to figure out all that stuff. And what do I replace it with if I replace it? Let's think about this for a minute. And I did all my homework and I did all my research, and I made a really good choice for a vehicle. It wasn't my dream vehicle. That's okay. It was a vehicle that I really enjoyed, and if I had it still today, I'd still be very happy with it. I had it for 3 years. I was very happy with it, and then I traded it in, and I got a little bit larger vehicle, which is really what I wanted that time, but I couldn't afford it before. So, that would be the top of my list probably, is that I made a really good choice there with my vehicle choice. So it's exciting when you can do that. So make your list of all of these things, and even if today you can only think of one, let's keep that list available. And maybe you don't do it on paper and pen, that's fine. Maybe you put it in the notes in your phone or in an email to yourself or something like that. But keep adding to the list. And every time you do something, like it could be as simple as you went and got your nails done and you're really glad that you did, and it was a great experience and you feel a million times better and you love the color of the polish that you picked or whatever. Write it down. Anything that you're like, I made a good choice here. Maybe you made a good choice for dinner. Like you wanted to try a new recipe and you tried it out and you made a few adjustments, because who doesn't? And you went in there and you were just like, yes, this is perfect. Write it down, all of these little victories, because what you have to do is retrain your brain with new evidence. So that's what this list is. It's a list of evidence for your brain to know that you are good at making decisions and you can trust yourself in making the decisions that you need to make. And so that's the whole purpose of the list. So when you read through it then on a regular basis, and if you have affirmations or a devotional time that you do every day, I would start reading through your list every day to remind yourself of all of these lovely things that you have done in a strong way, in a positive way, and build that self-trust. Really start to build that self-trust. Because once you get that up underneath you, that's the foundation that everything else can grow on. And it can be a relationship with your ex can get better, especially if you have kids involved and you need to have some sort of a civil relationship with them. You know, once you believe in yourself, you can start developing other relationships much better. And much stronger, and they won't have the cracks in the foundation the same way as if you built those relationships when you didn't believe in yourself. Now, that's not to say that every relationship you have when you didn't trust yourself is bad, but it can be made better. And one way you can make it better is by doing this process. I would also say then the next step, of course, is let's look at what do you do when someone else breaks your trust? How do you come back from that? And the very first thing you need to do is determine whether or not you want to continue the relationship with this person in the same way that it was before, but of course, not breaking trust, right? Or if you think the relationship needs to change. And how you do that is just by going through the process of being honest with yourself, being authentic with each other, having those conversations and saying, you know, yes, I do think we can get back to where we were and actually we'll be in a better place now because we've gone through this and we've rebuilt the trust in a better way than it was before. Personally, I really struggle with reinstituting trust. Once it's broken for me, it's going to take a whole heck of a lot to get back in my trust zone. I might have you back in my life, but you won't be there in the same way that you were before you broke the trust. And that's my boundary. That's when I know where I'm at with my comfort zone. And that is what I know I have to do for myself. So you have to decide that with each individual relationship and each individual situation. And each of us knows what our boundaries are in terms of where you'll get hurt, where you're safe, where you're not. And you just need to know what those are. And if you don't know what those are, you need to develop those. So that you can actually have these adult conversations about rebuilding relationships, rebuilding that trust, if that's what you and the other person involved decide is the best thing to do. Sometimes the best thing to do is to walk away. Sometimes the best thing is to rebuild the trust. And sometimes it's anything in between that spectrum. So, that's my advice on trust. And I would say, you know, if you are struggling with a trust issue right now and you don't know what to do with it and you're looking for someone to talk to, you don't feel like you need to go all the way to a mental health provider to do this, a counselor of some sort, but you just want to have a sounding board, someone safe to talk to, that's what I can provide for you through our personal mentoring services. So if you're interested in those, just head over to my website, jenniferandersonsmith.com, which is my name, Jennifer Anderson Smith, and click on the exploratory conversation, learn more, our contact link, and just say, hey, Jen, I'd love to talk to you more about your personal mentoring and what my concerns are and how you might be able to help me. And we'll have a conversation. It'd be no cost, no obligation, of course, and find out if what I can help you with is going to actually help you or if it's not. And if it's not, that's okay. No harm done. And maybe I'll even have a resource for you to work with going forward. So again, I appreciate everyone coming out and spending the time with us tonight. And I appreciate your understanding that I'm off at the Cubs game, but we will enjoy some time again next week. We will be here live and ready for your comments and actions live and having fun with that. So have a great week, everyone, and enjoy May Day on Saturday, and I will talk again soon. Bye-bye now.